Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual TrekCon 5 with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
That's Melissa Longo. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing the Pan-Can panel. We've got Kitty Swink here. We know her as Luarin and Minister Rozan on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, of course. Right next to her is Mr. Armin Shimerman. That's Quark, Deep Space Nine.
And also Mr. Swink. I'm also known as Mr. Swink.
And various other Ferengi on Star Trek The Next Generation. We've got Mr. John Billingsley, who played the good doctor, Dr. Phlox, on Enterprise. Jonathan Frakes, of course, is here. That's Commander Riker, Captain Riker, Admiral Riker on Next Generation, 4 movies, practically every Star Trek series ever. He's also a great director. That's Mr. Frakes.
Deservedly number one.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Lastly, Juan Carlos Coto. He's an executive producer on the hit show 911 and brother to the late, great, the sorely missed Enterprise showrunner, Mr. Manny Coto. How is everybody doing today?
We are doing well.
Pretty well.
Better seeing you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us, everybody.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So let's just get started into this. Mr. Armin Shimerman, can you please tell us, in your own words, what is Pan-Can?
Sure. Pan-Can is a charitable organization that does phenomenal work in research and helping patients that have been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Most people think of pancreatic cancer as a killer disease, that once you're diagnosed with it, there is no survival. The lady sitting next to me, Kitty Swink, is a survivor. She survived 18 years. And longer?
Yeah.
How much longer?
On March 3rd, it'll be 20.
The best 18 years of my life.
We often say that about our 42-year marriage. It's 40 of the best years of our life. Okay, there we go.
And what Pan-Can is doing is making sure that they're raising money for one thing, so that research into this disease gets knocked out. Right now, unfortunately, it's pancreatic cancer is becoming the second most virulent cancer around. But they are doing great strides to making the survival rate get better. I'm happy to say I'm going to take the lead on this, that in about a week, Pan-Can is about to announce that the survival rate has gone up 1%. And in the course of time that Kitty was first diagnosed, it has quadrupled. And besides looking for cures for pancreatic cancer, it also helps patients. It helps the caregivers of patients. It makes sure that information is available so that people don't go into an abyss worried about the death sentence. It doesn't have to be, and all of us here are trying our best to improve that. All of us have stories. We're all connected to pancreatic cancer in one way or another, and we're striving our best to bring that disease to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty, when you first had your bout with the pancreatic cancer, what was the first sign that you felt like something was wrong?
Well, I didn't know that I was having one of the real problems with pancreatic cancer and lots of other cancers is that you don't know that you're sick when you're sick. So I had lower back pain, but I just thought it was because I was a stupid jock and doing too many things. And then I started losing weight. But as you remember, I was always kind of scrawny. So the fact that I was losing weight, I thought I was under a lot of pressure, and I had acid reflux after a while. Well, my father had Alzheimer's. I was his main caregiver. We had a friend, Cecily Adams, who you all know played Moogie on Deep Space Nine, was in the hospital dying from lung cancer. So I just thought it was all adding up to me being stressed out. And I was visiting Cess one day in the hospital, and her childhood nanny was there. And she said, "Don't worry about Cess, worry about yourself." And I came home and I said something to Armin, and he said, "Why don't you call the doctor? She's probably right." And that was a Thursday, and I called the doctor, and they could get me in about 2 weeks. And the next morning they called and said, "We had a cancellation come in." And she said, "Well, you don't complain. This is unusual. It's probably just stress, but let's take a blood test. Over the weekend, my urine turned brown, and on Monday, I went into the hospital. And 17 days later, I came out with half my stomach missing, half my pancreas missing, no gallbladder, a couple of feet of intestines gone, and 28 lymph nodes.
And while she was sitting in the hospital, she was the same color yellow as your sweatshirt, Sarah.
It's true. I turned yellow. Yeah. So the big signs for pancreatic cancer, the most common symptoms that people get are acid reflux, lower back pain, sometimes abdominal pain, unexplained weight loss, and the big one, which Juan Carlos will talk about with Manny, is that you become diabetic out of the clear blue sky. Now,
Yeah.
I had a diabetic grandmother, and that sometimes is something that runs in the family. I also had breast cancer in my 30s, which you remember because you guys were shooting at that time. So it was
He was 14, Kitty.
okay, you were 14. Never mind. But
Yeah, I knew a little bit about it. I wasn't really
Yeah.
that informed, but
yeah,
I knew a little bit about it. So you had already went through the surviving breast cancer and all of that.
yeah. But I had the world's easiest trip through breast cancer. I had a second chance to learn what it's like to really have cancer with pancreatic, and I'm hoping not to repeat the third time is not the charm, I think is the.
And Sirach, your question about what were the symptoms are really important. And I may add to something that she said. If you're starting to become diabetic, ask your doctor to do a test to find out if it's affecting your pancreas. And they should check, because early diagnosis, of course, is a lifesaver.
One of the things that PanCan is really good about is training doctors to look for stuff that they don't look for. We have a friend that you may know. He was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer a lot, and he kept going to his doctor and going to his doctor and going to his doctor, and they told him, don't worry about it, blah, 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 blah. And by the time they found the pancreatic cancer, it was too late. It was too late. And I hear that story every day. I had lunch with a woman today who has stage 4 pancreatic cancer today, and she said to her doctor, fancy schmancy, Beverly Hills kind of doctor, who said, oh yeah, older women lose weight.
Oh.
That just happens sometimes.
But
Yes,
it's a testament to
John.
it's a testament what PanCan does, and their actual name is Pancreatic Cancer Action Network.
Yes.
PanCan. Some people.
Okay.
Oh,
Here we go.
Here we
Look
go.
at that.
thought I said
You are
something.
so
Wow.
good.
Yes, the screen suddenly shifted. My mother, when she was diagnosed in 1990, by the time she went to the doctor after having back issues and stomach issues, it was from diagnosis to death a matter of months. One, nobody had any, I shouldn't say nobody, my family certainly didn't have any awareness that these symptoms could have anything to do with pancreatic cancer. And the doctor, there was absolutely no question of, you might consider, or let me refer you to a specialist. It was a death sentence, period. And I think one of the things this organization has done, which is quite marvelous, is really raise awareness on the doctor's parts as much as on potential patients' parts. People now realize, in fact, there are things that can be done, particularly if you can catch it early enough. And that is really a testament to the work they've done down the years, which we'll talk about in a bit, the specific ways that you can help and support and yada, yada, yada. I just jumped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was noticing, looking at the PanCan website, how comprehensive it is. It's not just looking for volunteers or donations, but it has a section here for people who are facing pancreatic cancer.
That's what I was about to mention. Yeah.
It's probably one of the most transparent websites that I've seen as far as information and accessibility. What's some advice that you can give to somebody who is facing this diagnosis? And
certainly go. I'm going to cut everybody off. Certainly go to the Pancreatic Cancer, the PanCan Action Network website, and they will direct you towards doctors. It's always good to get a second opinion. There are doctors who are oncologists, but there are oncologists who know very little about pancreatic cancer. So you want to find yourself an oncologist that knows a lot about pancreatic cancer and will be able to point you in the right direction or help them yourselves.
And
you can get that from the PanCan website.
The other thing about PanCan is the patient and family services is extraordinary. They won't just help you, they'll help your family, and they'll help your family discover if other people in the family are likely to have it because you have a genetic marker that's possibly passed down. There's a lot of things they can do. They'll talk to you about diet. They'll talk to you about exercise. They'll talk to you about almost everything that you can do to increase your chances. The woman that I had lunch with today is in the process of moving into a trial because there's all these fantastic trials that centers of excellence are using. And here's my favorite thing they did. For years, if you were in a clinical trial and it wasn't working, you had to stay in that trial. Now you can move from trial to trial to trial. And that's because PanCan went to the NIH and they went to the FDA and they said, this is insane, let's save patients. And now across all cancers, that happens. You don't have to stay in a trial that's not working for you.
And it's a huge organization.
It's enormous. Yeah.
Look, I mean, to me, what's most inspiring about the organization is the word action, right? They take action and they do it for you. So you're not alone, right? It's, Manny's onset was sudden onset diabetes. It was May of 2022. And he got very thirsty. He got diabetes suddenly. He went to check it out and the doctor said, I'm going to do further checks. The doctor was conscious of this. Thank God, right? And they found a tumor in the duct of the pancreas, which was, obstructing the flow of enzymes, et cetera. And that's what made him diabetic. So he went through 2 rounds of chemo and 1 round of radiation and was on his way to get the Whipple procedure, which is a procedure in which they take, I think, most of the pancreas, right? And maybe part of the stomach. And, but it had spread to his bones, but he did fight it, but it was a very specific kind of pancreatic cancer. And the Action Network is very good for all of that, not only for your own advocacy, but for the family that's facing this, right? There's just so much that happens. And there's so many things that you need to take action on that they can help with. And there's questions that they'll help you ask. And as Armin has talked about this in the past, if your doctor is not either aggressive enough or is not pursuing a path that you think makes sense, they'll help you find someone else or get a second opinion. Or it's all about action. I think that's the key word in PanCan for me.
To follow up on that, Juan Carlos, you're saying Manny was diagnosed in May of 2022, and he only had a year after the diagnosis.
13 months, yeah. He passed away on July 9th of 2023. So it was
that was
a long, hard year where he fought it. Well, I mean, it was early, but it was so aggressive. And so the path that they took was to shrink the tumor first before doing the surgery. And they spent a good year doing that and didn't really have great results in shrinking it. They shrunk it a little with the radiation. But by the time they were set to go in for the surgery, which at that point had been 11 months, I think, and they were also going to follow that up with Keytruda, an experimental treatment that they had gotten results with. It had gone to his bones. So they decided that it was going to be too traumatic and it wasn't going to be worth it. And then he declined from there. He had an obstruction in his intestines, and it was sort of rough going from there. But yeah, he lasted a year. So, every case is different.
Juan Carlos, I'd also like to say, sorry, Sirach, I just want to say very quickly, Juan Carlos, that the Star Trek community was shocked to hear the news of your brother, and there was such a huge outpouring. I don't know if you saw it or if you were aware of it. But
I saw it and felt it, and we all felt it, and we were all incredibly moved by it. Manny was a very private guy, and he told me, I think 6 weeks after he was diagnosed, and did not want to share it. He was just, that was the type of guy he was. He was a bit of a curmudgeon sometimes. He was like, I don't want to have a conversation about this every time I pick up the phone, right? And that was his thing. And it took me a while to even convince him to tell my mom, because he didn't want my mom to suffer and our mom to suffer. And so, it was sort of a process with him. Star Trek was literally his creative life. I mean, I have a photo. I'll dig it up in a second. I'll share it with you guys, of him watching. I shared it on my socials too, but it was him watching Trek when he was 13 years old, and he gave me the Trek bug when I was a kid. We watched it in reruns, And it was his dream, his lifelong dream to work on Trek, and he got to do it on Enterprise, and was just a kid in a candy store there and loved it, and that was evident, because it was on the page and it was on the screen with everything he did in those last couple of seasons. It was really, he just loved it, and I did too, because of him.
Found it.
And I'm grateful to the community for that outpouring, because it was truly amazing. It was truly amazing.
This is it right here, right?
Grateful to have you on our team, by the way.
Thank you. It's my honor. It's my honor. There it is. There it is. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's our house in Altamont Springs, Florida, Orlando, Florida. Yeah.
Wow.
We just gotten out of the pool.
And
Yeah.
Johnny, did you direct this episode?
I have a quick question. For
You might have
Kitty, and then I
directed one
wanna-
or two of them, right? Didn't you direct on Enterprise, Jonathan?
I didn't, but I wish I had.
Yeah. I have a quick question for Kitty, and then I have a question for Jonathan. Kitty, did you do the radiation chemotherapy treatment as well, or did you go right into
I did surgery, and then I don't know if I still hold it, but at the time I held the record for starting chemotherapy faster than anybody at the history of Cedars-Sinai after that surgery. 11 days later, I started chemo. I did 3 rounds of chemo, which were 3-week rounds, and then I had a couple of weeks off, and then I did radiation, and I did that for 6 weeks, and then I had a couple of weeks off, and then I did 3 more big rounds of chemo. Yeah, I did it all.
And Sirach, if I may, because of the incredible research into genetic testing, each patient is different. Each patient is different, and a good oncologist, good pancreatic cancer oncologist knows that and will treat you slightly different depending on your gene makeup.
At the time I was diagnosed, the standard of care is what I did, but now there's all these incredible targeted therapies that makes a huge difference for what kind of pancreatic cancer you have. Yeah.
And does diet and nutrition play a huge role in that?
It
as
does.
Far as
It does. But people used to go, how did you get pancreatic cancer? When I checked in at the emergency room, they kept saying, are you, do you eat a lot of fat? I said, are you looking? Are you looking?
Are you a big drinker?
Are you a big drinker?
You smoke cigarettes? Yeah.
I kept going, this is not my fault. This, so you can do things that can make it worse. If you are obese, you have a slightly higher chance of getting diabetes, but sometimes you're not obese because you do something wrong. You're just obese because that's your genetic makeup. There's a lot of things like that, but you can certainly make yourself have a better chance if you eat right, if you exercise, if you do all of those things. And I think it helped my, survival a little bit because I was a dumb jock all of my life. I worked out all the time, all of my life. So I think that helped me. I hope it helped me. Yeah.
And Jonathan, for you, how did this issue touch you in your life?
I'm just listening to Kitty, and I'm so grateful. My brother, Daniel, the wonderful Daniel Frakes, who most people thought was the cute one in our family, died 30 years ago. And there was a 4% survival rate. And he didn't exercise, and he didn't eat well, and he didn't take care of himself. And he turned yellow. He was fully jaundiced by the time we finally got him to the hospital. And they opened him up, I guess assuming they would do an emergency Whipple with that bucket, the sort of bucket handle cut, I remember. Closed him up immediately, said that he has pancreatic cancer, but it's too far gone. There's nothing they can do, and you'll be lucky to have him for 6 months. So that was pretty shocking. And when I kept hearing about everyone's talking about PanCan, the support of the family, which didn't exist in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, when I, back then, and he had just gotten divorced, he had a kid. It was a mess in so many ways. And he was, he was my roommate in New York. He was a best friend. He was a marvelous human being, as you can imagine. And when Kitty, who I also have adored for, God, almost as long, since New York.
Decades.
Yeah, decades. Asked me to if I wanted to participate with this, new family, it opened up a whole thing for me. I mean, charity, I felt that I give and I love and I get, but pancreatic cancer charity that Kitty invited me to be part of, that would help people through what I went through with Daniel, just has been it's been a strange blessing. And Ciroc, like when you go to the conventions and the fans give you something because they love what you did and they share with you, that is a gift that they don't know they're giving you. When Kitty asked me to join in the backyard at Marina's house, I look forward to this time. I look forward to all these time that we have together. We're very, very competitive about the money we try to raise. and Kitty always gets the most fucking money.
No,
Kitty wins. Kitty wins. Kitty wins. Kitty wins.
I shared the $40,000.
And she makes incredible cornbread too.
Yeah,
Incredible cornbread.
But you'll see why. The JC, you're going to see what it's like when it comes down to the week before, and you're watching her dwindling as Kitty's. Not that I'm competitive.
But except you always jump to the head of the class.
Yeah, all levity aside, Kitty is the hope that we all share and embrace, and has really spearheaded the Trek part of this. We have a team on Purple Stride, which I'm sure we should plug.
Yeah,
Yes.
please do.
Team Trek.
Oh yeah.
Plug away, Jonathan.
Well,
that's
You
the thing.
plug, John.
Feel
John,
free.
you plug.
Yeah, Billingsley, give me that better.
I like the plug-in part. I don't know why. I just like the plug-in.
You're in.
So there is a walk. Let's call it a stride that takes place on April 27th. It's 62 and a half cities all over the country. One half a city that can't quite decide whether it wants to complete the stride. You can participate in the Purple Stride in a number of ways. One, you can support our team and sponsor one of
What's
us.
the name of that team?
You provided, Armin.
Oh.
Jump in. What's the name of that team?
Trek Against Pancreatic Cancer.
Trek against
Team
Pancreatic.
Trek.
We're not going to have to loop this, are we?
Yes, now we are. Now we are. It's all my fault. But do give to me. Give to me the most, please.
Team Trek Against Pancreatic Cancer. Neither Jonathan and I had a role in naming the actual team, but it's a lovely name. A lovely name. You can support one of us by making a pledge. We will walk and we will carry your banner. Or you can be a member of our team, which means that you yourself will find other people to support you. You will be a fundraiser amongst us, part of our Purple Stride team. It's one of the things we're really trying to promote, because I think one of the things that makes us feel like it is a family is we would love for this to be a place for people who feel like they want to take the next step in terms of generating support, expanding the network to be part of our family. And we're talking about different ways that we can gather together, maybe having a party after the fact for some of the bigger fundraisers.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about all sorts of things. I'm not sure we're ready to actually kind of put it out in front of everybody yet, but we really
You
want
sure just did, didn't you?
I kind of did without actually. We're talking about having a big party at Frakes' house. That's my idea.
All right.
And
For the
Jonathan's going to
people-
cook.
Yeah, for the people who raise the most money as members of what's it again, Armin?
Team Trek Against Pancreatic Cancer.
Team Trek Against Pancreatic Cancer. We'll
I'll
have
show
to
everybody right here.
find-
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Easy way to find it. Everybody, you go pancan.org. We'll also include all the links in the description box below. Keep it really easy. Pancan.org. You click on Purple Stride right here, top right. You scroll down and you go, how am I going to find them? Oh, well, they're just number one.
We're number one.
How am I going to ever find
You know.
the
About that.
champions? And then
But
you
we
can
won't be
donate.
for long. That's the problem.
No. This year, I'm not
We can
competitive
hold
at
on to
all.
it this year.
We're going to
Okay.
win.
Okay.
We're gonna
This
win.
year we're going to win.
We're going to
It's
win.
the berries. Who are those berries? Harry's berries, berries,
Berries,
Harry's berries, Harry's
berries,
berries.
And the
It's those
Whipplers.
damn doctors. It's those Cedars doctors that raise all the money.
The Cedar Sinai Whipplers. I'm going to beat them this year. I'm going to beat them.
But we obviously make fun. It is an amazing group of people all over the country who, in their own right, in their own teams, it's all a pool of movement.
Amazing, yeah.
And we raise how much money
and
do we raise, Kitty?
And we raised about 1,000, 120,000 last year. We intend to do more this year. But the PanCan has raised millions every year through Purple Stride. And this is, we've all been touched by pancreatic cancer, and we're all doing this to give back to the people we lost, to give back to the people who survived. And if you've been touched by pancreatic cancer, whether it's a relative or a friend or somebody you work with, this is a great way to do it. This is to stop this disease in its tracks.
Right.
Could one of the smarty pantsier people also talk a bit about some of the work they do helping to develop new cures and treatments, which have not only kind of been resonant and relevant to pancreatic cancer, but have actually kind of like expanded the wider world of cancer research, which is one of the things that I think is really important to talk about.
One of the things they do is they talk not only to pancreatic cancer doctors, but they also talk to other oncologists as well, dealing with other kind of cancers. So they're not siloed. They're sharing the information with the entire cancer community, and through that sharing, more information, more knowledge, more breakthroughs are arrived at because people are sharing things together. That's one of the things that PanCan does as well.
And that's another point I wanted to make quickly, was that when Daniel died, there was a 3% survival rate. When Kitty was diagnosed, I believe there was a 4% survival rate. And we now have a 13%. It still sucks, a 13% survival rate, which is triple. So obviously, we're moving in the right direction, and we have a long way.
And that's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are now getting it.
Right. And if you have early diagnosis, which is something we're working on so hard at PanCan, early diagnosis by getting the doctors to see what the signs are and getting people who are in communities that are likely to have pancreatic cancer to understand that, then your survival rate goes way up. The fact that I survived stage 2B is incredibly unusual.
So if you're diagnosed with diabetes, or if you have a friend who's diagnosed with diabetes, tell them they need to get checked for pancreatic cancer, because that's an early detection. Unfortunately, when the symptoms arrive, the symptoms you heard Jonathan talk about,
jaundice and all that stuff, it's often too late.
It's too late.
Oh, wow.
And again, they can test this through blood test.
They do it through little tricorders that they take out and they put over your blood.
There's a tumor marker, but it's not a particularly accurate test. There are other tests
we wish.
We wish.
Well, that's one of the things they're working on, right?
Yeah. And there's a really exciting breakthrough now that they have found what they think is a vaccine, which is extraordinary. And it works in about 30% of the cases that they use it on. It's an incredible.
But like a preventative beforehand.
Yeah,
thing?
if you have we have two very close friends. One's a very close friend, and one is my best friend's brother, who had prophylactic Whipples because they had a precancerous tumor in such a place that it was going to become cancer. Well, those people could now, to make sure it didn't come back, get hopefully soon be able to get this vaccine and make sure it doesn't come back.
We touched on this a little bit. We keep kind of peppering on it a little bit, and that's the prevention and the signs of this. So I kind of wanted to hit on that a little bit harder, because it seems like there are a lot of stories about people being diagnosed when the disease is already in the later stages, right? So do you think this is generally because people don't know the symptoms, or doctors are missing them, or because the disease moves so quickly? Do we have really, besides, obviously the jaundice is too late, the diabetes is a pretty powerful sign. Are there other signs like
is there an age range when it starts to become something that's relevant? Like, okay, at 30 or 40?
I think that
it's getting younger and younger.
But certainly, Kitty's the marker that got the doctor interested and worried was that Kitty's white blood cell count was astronomically high, and the doctor knew something was wrong, and that was a symptom. But the problem is that the symptoms that spell out loud and clear it's pancreatic cancer, as I said before, come rather late. So we have to find it before these symptoms show up. And unless a doctor is knowledgeable enough to know to look for them, then they're not going to do that. And then, forgive me, you're up shit's creek. But that's why Talk to your doctor, see if they know any. If they don't, find another doctor. There's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion.
Inexplicable weight loss, huge. That's a big one. If you just start losing weight, and unfortunately, in this crazy world on social media, most people go, "I'm losing weight. Isn't this great?" You're not doing anything for it. You're not doing anything to that might be a big signal. Lower back pain, big signal. Continuous acid reflux with those other two things, enormous signal.
Were you
This is
eating the
your
same and
family.
losing weight?
Yeah.
Were you eating the same and losing weight?
Yeah. I
Manny's
dropped-
very first thing also was he got very thirsty, could not quench his thirst, no matter how much water he drank. And his wife said, my dad had diabetes. That's a sign of diabetes. And that's when he went in and found the diabetes. And then beyond that, they realized the cancer was there. But so it's really about listening to your body, I have 2 cardiac stents and I always tell people, yoga saved my life because I did yoga and yoga forces you to kind of pay attention. And I would get this stuff that wasn't quite heartburn. And I realized it was angina. And I went in and they did an EKG and they were like, oh, okay. So it's sort of like pay attention, right? And it's like when that thirst wasn't quenching, he realized something was wrong and had it checked out. And if it's not 100%, push further. Also, we haven't talked about genetic testing that's now available, right? If you have it in your family, maybe you did mention this, Armin, but if you have it in your family,
that was my question.
Get tested. There's a couple of markers and things that they can find, and you can, have a heads up essentially.
And not all pancreatic cancer is genetically aligned,
Right.
but some of it is. If you have the BRCA mutation, 1 or 2, which are also markers for breast cancer, that's a possibility. I don't happen to have them, but that's a really good sign. Ashkenazi Jewish people are more likely to have pancreatic cancer. Unfortunately, African Americans who also in this country get not as good health care as everybody else are more likely to have pancreatic cancer than a lot of other populations. Those are all things that add up to be careful. Demand that your doctor pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Would it be silly to ask your doctor to test for anything like this yearly? I mean, same with, you go for a breast exam every year or
if you have any of these background possibilities that Kitty just mentioned and the other people have mentioned, then I think it's not silly at all to say, listen, I've heard about this disease, it runs in my family, or I have some of the symptoms that we heard about on the broadcast, then I don't think that's silly at all. And if the doctor says, no, I'm not going to do that, and you really are committed to getting a test, get another doctor.
Right. I mean, there are some tests that they're not going to just do an MRI because MRIs are incredibly expensive and insurance companies don't like to pay for them. And most people can't afford them. Understandably, they're expensive. But there are tests that are important to take. And if you have these symptoms, you have to be aggressive about it, particularly if it runs in your family or you're diabetic. Being thirsty.
Yeah, get an annual physical. I mean, it starts with an annual physical. That's right. That's where it starts.
And if you don't know where to get a second opinion, go to PanCan. Go to pancan.org. They will direct you to a good doctor, a good facility close to where you live. Right. We have Purple Stride in 60 cities, 62 and a half. There are specialists around the country. Wherever you live, there's probably a facility nearby or sort of nearby that you can go to.
There are centers of excellence for pancreatic cancer, and a center of excellence for any kind of cancer is what you want. You want somebody who's really good at that particular kind of cancer.
Yeah.
What are the 60 cities exactly? Is that an event going on in
alphabetical order or by
population, or how do you want to do it?
Alphabetical.
Alphabetical.
No, I mean like conceptual
website.
Sorry.
Conceptually, are you guys going to 60 different cities and doing an event there, or
we're on the same day? It all happens on April 27th.
We're in Los Angeles, assuming that we're all in Los Angeles. And if you are in Los Angeles and would like to join us, come walk on our team. But
there it is.
There it is.
So it all
In
happens on the same
alphabetical
day.
order. In alphabetical order.
But this is
But-
not a tour or something. This is a one-day event. Everybody goes out and supports. Is
That's
that
right.
what's happening?
Louisiana is actually a state, so that's you'd have to research a little bit further to find out.
Several years ago, I was in Kansas City when Purple Stride was taking place, and I must have marched with 10, 15,000 people in Kansas City who are marching. So it's comparable in each of the other cities.
Yeah.
And yet this is all one day, April 27th. It says Saturday, April 27th is the big day to circle. And what that means is everybody donates all the days leading up to and including April 27th. Everybody goes and marches together. Is that about correct?
They announced the winningest team.
Yes.
Okay.
Really good time.
Los
It's a
Angeles.
party.
We walk around the Santa Monica Pier area. Harry's
Also,
there.
I think it's interesting to point out that the color of Pan-Can Purple Stride is obviously purple. And the major color in fashion today is what?
Purple.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Excellent.
I take direction.
Another way to
objection-
raise awareness.
Objection, leading the witness, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And the background light on Ciroc's wall
Yes.
is
Yes.
also purple.
Yes.
It was going to be Ochre Stride, and it just didn't test. Ochre
That can
Stride.
go up the tongue.
Nobody went.
It didn't.
Yeah, Chartreuse Stride did not clear.
Didn't
It's
Ciroc.
doing a
catch.
great job of bouncing off of Avery's skull is what it's doing.
Ciroc, do you want to tell them about the story about the purple light bulb?
Is there a story?
There
I
is
didn't
a
have
story.
There was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, tell me the story. I'd like to hear it again.
Oh, geez, I don't know if I remember.
Jesus, that was
Oh.
awkward.
Yeah, I
Something about-
don't remember the.
Let me tell you the story. I'm just going to make
I was going to pass it over to John.
me-
This is a perfect opportunity for Billingsley's work.
How come Melissa and I
Yes.
remember this story and you don't?
You got me on the
Stop
spot.
digging,
You got me on
Brian.
the
Stop
spot.
digging that hole for him.
Yeah, thank you.
In a nutshell, he found it.
There it is.
In the gutter
Yes.
along the
Yes.
street. You
It's-
were walking.
It's the only. Yeah, it's the founded light. But you know, Star Trek has been known for, at least the people affiliated in Star Trek have been known. Thank you.
That's called a
It's always-
segue. Yeah.
It's a segue. Thank you.
It's
But I was going to say,
generous.
because I have written in my notes, you know, Michael Pillar, for example, who was always adamant about contributing to the American Cancer Society and you know, just being involved. And I always remember a lot of the people, such as yourselves, involved with Star Trek that are dedicated to raising awareness. And to me, that is one of the biggest attributes of what Star Trek is about, raising awareness, bringing us together in this familiar, you know, family-like environment where we can all relate to each other, look out for each other, help each other. And to me, that's one of the ideals that Star Trek stands for, and that you're living out by this kind of contribution to this work that you guys are doing. Because Kitty, I do remember, you know, as long as I can remember, you being involved with raising awareness, really being the poster child for somebody who fights and survives. And I think that's also an important message for people out there that are going through these kinds of things, that there is a hope for survival out there.
Well, I think it's my job. Everybody else is eloquent and knows a lot of things, but my job is to give people hope. I think that's my job in life.
And
really,
you're killing it, if you pardon me.
Mhm.
Jonathan, you're
Yes.
prejudiced. I want to
I
say
am prejudiced.
when Pam Marquardt, who started Pan-Can because of her mother passing from pancreatic cancer, came to me and asked me if I would be an ambassador, I said, you know, my husband was a regular on Star Trek, and I did a game and a couple of episodes, and our friend Jonathan lost his brother, and I think Star Trek and pancreatic cancer Action Network, Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, would be a good fit because Star Trek fans love science. They love to help people. They love inclusion. They love all of the things that we need for this disease. And I went to Jonathan and he said yes. Armin was a tougher sell. Yeah. No, not really. Not
You had to sleep with him, didn't you?
I did. I keep doing it.
Yeah.
And, and
But I held out. I held out.
He's a good negotiator.
yes.
Oh.
And then we got John Billingsley along the way. And then this year we were so lucky to get Juan Carlos along the way. It's just really been great. And you guys helping us. It just is everything that I have to say about Star Trek. I have to say about this organization too.
But Kitty really is our guiding light. She is our inspiration and our hope. For sure, for sure.
You just say that because I make you goodies in my oven.
There is that.
That's how she got me aboard.
There is that.
But I have to give Kitty flowers too, because you are a true inspiration in many forms. Speaking personally, you've been such an amazing friend, and you help support. Your support extends itself so far out into this community that it's unbelievable. So yeah, you are a beacon of hope, and it shows in everything that you do. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about you. Yeah, you're incredible.
It's amazing work that you guys are doing, and that's the other thing I was bringing up, was that how it not only affects the person who's dealing with it, but it has this ripple effect where so many other people are also going through it with you, your family in particular, and friends. So I mean that is why we all need each other,
Yeah, no, I mean, Manny left behind 4 children. His son is 14. His daughter is 12, and he has twin 9-year-old girls. So, they fortunately have a lot of great memories with him. He's a very, very, he was a blast as a dad, right? You can imagine, because the house was filled with all kinds of sci-fi memorabilia, and he was all about scaring them a lot on every Halloween. And his oldest son is in an episode of Dexter, and so they have a lot of fond memories of him. But yeah, it's devastating, as a lot of people on the Zoom know, and it's that's where PanCan is so good. They really are there as a support system, and as, again, people who are there to help you to take action, because you find yourself needing to do all of these things, and they help you with that, and they help you cut through the clutter and get to the answers.
It seems like this is a very all-encompassing kind of organization, and a lot of these, like the Hollywood Food Coalition, and like even things like Alcoholics Anonymous or anything like that, the ones that really do a lot of good and make a lot of change are the ones that don't just attack something in one direction. They hit, raising funds, raising awareness, education, preventative measures, support system for the people around the people being affected, because that's something that we never really would think about way back in the day, which is how is this also affecting their support system? I mean, how can somebody be a great support system to somebody that is ill if they themselves are almost going through a very similar thing? They're being dragged down in the mud with them. And so I think it's really great.
Just trying to say goodbye at the same time they're losing, they're slipping away,
But it's still, it does affect a lot of people.
I'm gonna. Do you remember Larry Pressman, who recurred on Deep Space Nine? Lawrence Pressman, Larry. He played a.
Just tell the story.
Anyway, Larry's wife had MS for a really long time, and when I got sick, everybody was taking care of me, and Larry decided he was going to take care of Armin, and I think that was the nicest thing anybody did for me, because Armin was doing everything. He was doing everything. And the fact that Larry would take him out to lunch and call him and see how he was doing, he knew people were helping me. So he helped Armin. That's one of the things I love about PanCan is they help the whole family. It's a family disease.
And to your point, Rob, that is one of the things that I think is special about Star Trek. I mean, the nature of the ripple effect in this community of people who care for each other and who share similar values is that we are all looking for ways to kind of coalesce and come together and build coalitions, and build partnerships, and build relationships.
And to make the world and life a better place.
Yeah.
That isn't that what Star Trek is about? Making the world
Yeah, I mean,
a better
yeah.
place.
Without a doubt.
That's what we're trying to do to booster Kenny Mitchell's spirit, who suffered from ALS. He's a he's a wonderful member of this family, and he has lived a long time with ALS, and he gives a lot of the credit, the support that he gets from all of us, and it's all true.
One of the things that resonates with me about Star Trek is the idea of problem solving. And, you get this problem, whatever it is, it's presented to you in the beginning of the episode, and you've got to figure out how you're going to survive that situation and leave unscathed. And, what we're doing here is trying to do our best to problem solve, right? Jonathan, you mentioned
it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, you mentioned the survival rate increasing as time has gone on, as money has poured into this, as people's awareness has grown. We've gotten more people to, survive. And ultimately, the goal is of 100% survival rate if we can get there. But problem solving is really at the core issue of what we're trying to do here. This is a problem, and we're doing our best to try to find solutions to solve it.
Now, on that note, I think I'd be remiss to not thank Rod and Barry for his support, both for the Hollywood Food Coalition and for the work we're doing with PanCan, and that is what his foundation is all about.
And for all those who are listening to this podcast, if you hear of anybody, tell them, spread the word. Even if it's not affecting your family or yourself personally, you may hear of someone. Please let them know about PanCan, because it will be a life changer for them, and you will have done something really good.
I would suggest, if you're at all interested in what we're talking about, just follow them on social media, because every day they have, look at this wonderful new thing that's happening in research about tumors, or look at this wonderful research that they have about all these things, or here's some recipes for cancer patients that will make you feel better, and that's good for, that has this element in it, and this element, and this element that will help you get better. It's really a wonderful way to let people know about all these different things. It's their social media presence is extraordinary, and they offer people hope, which is my job. I love that through all kinds of people. You see people all the time on their social media going, "I just rang the bell. I finished chemo today, and I'm walking out again."
You can follow PanCan at PanCan. Pretty easy. PANCAN. Everybody, I just found them very quickly.
Yeah, they are a
and
good
easily.
follow.
.org.
I'm talking about on social media.
Sorry.
But the website, pancan.org. We'll have all the links and all the information, everybody, in the description box below. We're just about out of time here, but the main point of this, everybody, is to make sure you are supporting these fine people on April 27th by donating well before that. Go to pancan.org. Click on the purple stride button, and then you can donate. Remember to scroll down and find them.
Or join our team and come walk with us.
Yeah.
I want to walk
Make
with
the
you.
trek.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Come on, Melissa.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The individual who raises the most money will, Jonathan will give you a piggyback ride.
Whoa, what a deal.
Up to a certain weight class.
Yeah.
I have been disqualified.
Thank you for that disclaimer, John. Thank you for that disclaimer. Yes.
So remember, just here it is, everybody. You just go to pancan.org, click on Purple Stride, scroll down to where you see the champs right here, Trek Against Pancreatic Cancer. Click Donate. And there you go. You are in business.
And you can get a really cool sweatshirt or T-shirt or,
Now, while we're on that crazy screen, just to
Yes.
satisfy mine, let's say that I will join the team as somebody who raises money himself. How do I do that? I put you on the spot, Ryan T. Husk. Is that something that we can figure out?
Oh no,
right
I can find it. Watch this. I did actually see it just a second
You
ago.
did.
now?
If you
You go-
page down,
Was there? Yeah.
look
You
at that
click
T-shirt.
here.
Well, here I am. Okay, right. And now
Join
welcome to our
this team.
Join this team.
Oh, there it is.
There you
Yay.
go. Create an
Awesome.
account. And then eventually your name is listed with Armin and Kitty and Jonathan and my own and Ryan T.
Juan
Husk.
Carlos.
Carlos.
God, we
Juan
took
Carlos.
Juan Carlos.
And all of us are doing the same thing. We're going out and trying to network to see if we can bring people on board in hopes of riding around Santa Monica Pier on Jonathan Frakes' Burley Back and going to He's going to be hosting his
And I'm walking around gathering up various Star Trek swaggy things for, people who
Oh
are
yes,
really good at this.
there will be swag.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
Very
everybody,
nice.
you've got your marching orders. Everybody at home, it just takes a few clicks. A lot of times your computer starts filling in the numbers for you, so you're all set. It's super easy. Just click yes and join
Absolutely.
the team, like Melissa is going to do, and probably all of us. It should be a great time.
Yeah.
Mr. Billingsley, Mr. Frakes, Kitty, Armin, Juan Carlos, thank you all so much for joining
Thank you.
us. This has been
Thank you.
so cool. We really appreciate the work that you do. Everybody stick around. Everybody at home, we've got a lot more for you on virtual TrekCon 5, but none as important as this. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Saran.
much.
Thank you, Melissa.
thank
All right.
you guys.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Nice to
Virtual
see you.
Thank you.
TrekCon 5.